Hello everyone, I'm Broffy1322 and welcome to the recap video for the second round of the third season of the Multi-Class Endurance Championship. This round took place on Olympic Grand Prix and we were in sport cars. The Massacro was the GT1 car, the GT2 drivers were in Kurumas, and GT3 was the Penumbra. There was a 20% chance of rain for these races, but I'll talk more about that in depth when we get to the PC race. But yeah, this was a very interesting round because it was completely different to round one, essentially. We'd basically gone from Sport Classics, which aren't the quickest cars in the world, on Blaine County, which is quite a long circuit, to Olympic Grand Prix, which is quite a short, one of the shorter circuits on the calendar. It's a little bit tighter as well, more difficult to sort of navigate around, I would say. With if you make a mistake, you're ending up in a barrier rather than just running wide. But we were also increasing the speed of the vehicles. We moved up a gear into sports cars. Sports cars are obviously a lot quicker than sports classics, and it was basically punctuated by traffic issues and accidents and incidents a hell of a lot more, because it was the first time that people had really got a taste of, I guess, a true multi-class experience where you're having to overtake slower vehicles all the time, slower vehicles having to let the faster guys through, all that kind of stuff. It was the first time that we'd actually had that in this season, because the first round on Blaine County, it wasn't really traffic oriented. The GT1s I think overtook the GT3s once and some of the GT2s, but that was pretty much it. There wasn't that much overtaking to be done in round one. It was more like a normal race where you don't have to deal with all that kind of stuff. So this was people's first taste of a more standard multi-class experience, and I think it showed a little bit because there were so many incidents across all of the platforms, really, in terms of people getting involved with traffic, people causing issues in terms of taking people out accidentally and getting slowed down by traffic, or just generally having incidents and accidents whilst people got used to the idea. Certainly people who were new to the championship, who hadn't raced in the Multi-Class Endurance Championship in Season 2, for example, who they had to get used to the idea that you are going to get slowed down in traffic in these races. You are going to lose time in certain phases of the race. You're not going to be able to be bumper to bumper all the way through. So yeah, it was very interesting from that standpoint to see how people dealt with that. Now we'll go through all of the platforms and the GTs as well, as we did in the last recap video. So in GT1 for the Xbox One side, if you haven't watched all of the highlights videos, they will be linked in the description, by the way. You're welcome to go watch those to see my perspective on these races. The GT1 battle on the Xbox One race was absolutely incredible. Some of the quicker guys, I think, got caught up with those incidents in the early stages of the race, and that basically left Jetta and Berserker, who himself is one of the quick guys, of course, but everybody's quick at this point. But yeah, it was basically a two-way battle between Berserker and Jetta for quite a lot of the race, and it was only that ability to get through traffic from myself that allowed me to catch up to both of them, and then we had that three-way battle at the end. Now Jetta and Berserker are both very new. This is their first season doing the Multi-Class Endurance Championship. Obviously I've got a lot more experience with that, and I think that's kind of what I'm talking about here, how that experience of being able to deal with traffic and get through the slower cars without incidents or without losing too much time, despite not being on the overall pace in terms of a single lap. I was able to work my way towards them, catch up, and then we had that amazing three-way battle in the last few laps for the lead of the race, and I can't believe how close that was. Obviously well done to Jetta for holding out, but that was so close after an hour and 37 minutes to only be a second apart at the end. Totally crazy, and yeah, if you haven't seen the highlight video for that, you definitely should, because it was one hell of a race. So in terms of the championship, I'm actually leading the championship in GT1 at this point. It's difficult to read anything into it at the, because we're so early into the championship and only your best 7 rounds count. But I've had 2 consecutive second places, which it's good points. But yeah, certainly we're going to have some wins throughout the season if I'm going to be able to stay at the top of the championship, but it's nice to be there for a little bit, I guess. In second place is Berserker, who has been one of the quick guys and maybe hasn't had the results that his pace has warranted. But yeah, again, I think the GT1 championship is going to be very close all the way through, and there's going to be certainly quite a lot of ebbs and flows throughout the championship. Now, in GT2, for the Xbox One side, it was Hitman who was able to get a huge lead, and this was the same for GT3 as well. Basically, the winners in GT2 and GT3 on the Xbox One side were miles ahead of everybody else. And again, I think that was just a case of not getting involved with the traffic and not having issues, and certainly mistakes creep in a lot more on tracks like this. You know, they're shorter, they are shorter, they're tighter. You've got less room for making an error, that like compared to what you do on something like Blaine County, where you may just end up running wide. You know, there's a lot more room for error. So if you aren't on the ball, you're going to lose a lot of time in a crash. So being able to put in decent lap times whilst also being consistent with that and not getting involved in incidents will allow you to have a very, very good race. And that's what Hitman did at the top of the GT, in the lead of the GT2 race for that round. And yeah, that was actually his first round for the championship. So he has got the 15 points for that, but he's only in 4th place in the championship because he didn't participate in round 1. But that's okay. By the end of the championship, he will be able to drop that first round, and that won't be part of his score. So again, we can't read too much into the championship at this stage, but Blodia X5 is in the lead of the championship, and Trumpet Master is in second at the moment. But, you know, I'm just sort of mentioning these as an aside just to keep you guys up to date. Again, you're welcome to always keep an eye on the spreadsheet, which has all of this information in up to date at all times. Now, for GT3, it was Nicholas RL13 who got the big lead in this one, ahead of Squillum93, who was in second place, and then AA Jordan AA. Yeah, big gaps again between first and second, same as the GT2 battle. Nicholas RL13 was certainly significantly far ahead of everybody else, and takes home those 15 points. He couldn't get into the first race, so again, he's very similar to Hitman pretty much in exactly the same way. He's only in 4th place in the GT3 championship. Wolfie Bigtail is still in the lead of that by only a single point, but you know, again, you can't read too much into that until we get further into the championship. For the team's championship, Vanilla Unicorn are still in the lead of that, capitalising on their great first round. They got a good haul of points once again with 29, and obviously Jetta, the winner in GT1, is part of that team, so they are still in the lead. Escalera are still in second place, and Preservex have managed to get a great 30 points for round 2 to jump up into third. So it's still all very close at this point, but those are the standings at the moment. Now for the PC round, and this is where I'll talk about the rain. Throughout the course of this championship, there is a certain amount of chance that some of the rounds are going to involve rain. Now, the chance of rain is different for these rounds. So for Blaine County 24 hours, round 1, we had a 0% chance of rain. The same goes for the 2 races that are on Ron Raceway. You know, the 0% chance of rain means that it's just going to be clear. But for Olympic Grand Prix for round 2, there was a 20% chance that we would have rain. Now what that basically means is I do a random draw at the start of the race, and if it comes up with that chance of rain, the entire race will be run in wet conditions. So it's the reason that we do that instead of having current weather is that there's certain bugs involved with current weather where some people can get rain and others can stay dry. You know, we don't want to risk any of that. So this is our way to create a little bit of unpredictability into the championship. People don't necessarily know until literally minutes before the race starts whether it's going to be run in wet or dry conditions. For round 4 on Los Santos Grand Prix in compacts, there's a 60% chance of rain, so you know it could go either way. One race maybe in rain and one race maybe dry, but you just don't know. So you've got to basically do a bit of practice in both and yeah, deal with the situation as it is. So the Xbox One race obviously didn't have rain. We did the draw and nothing came up. But the PC race, we did get rain, and I wasn't really expecting us to get any rain throughout the 3 races, to be honest, because 20% chance isn't all that great. But we did get rain, and it made it very difficult to deal with. I think a lot of people had issues with the rain around Olympic Grand Prix, and we've certainly experienced that before when we did the Coupes race in the rain around Olympic GP in Season 2. It can be very difficult to get used to, and I think a lot of people sort of lose it a little bit in the rain, and I think I mentioned this during the PC race at one point, that people sort of get psyched out a little bit by the fact that it's raining and it's a little bit more slippy. It all depends on the amount of practice that you put in as well. You know, if you put in a lot of practice in dry conditions and don't put any practice in for the wet conditions, you're basically going into a completely different world. For me personally, I hadn't put all that much practice in. I hadn't put any practice in under either conditions, so to me it was going to be new regardless. So I think that actually helped me. But we'll talk about the GT1s first. Again, it's pretty much a carbon copy of the first round with GT1. Doom Penguin got the win, Super Stepper was in second place, and Avivo was in third. So pretty much exactly the same order for the top 3 as we had in round 1, which is interesting, you know, to see Doom Penguin get off into an early lead with those 2 victories. They will certainly help when it comes to sort of totaling up his best 7. I think there were certainly bigger gaps this time between everybody in all of the classes because of that rain aspect, and because it caught people out and people made more mistakes because of the slippery conditions. But yeah, the GT1 battle is going Doom Penguin's way at the moment, but again, we'll see how that turns out throughout the course of the season. Sugar Free Nos got his first win for this season in GT2 with he was far and away in the lead of the Kurumas by quite a significant margin pretty much all the way through the race. Unfortunately, I think Machiski disconnected, who was the winner of our first race. He disconnected early on, so that was a big shame, but I think Nos had a pretty commanding lead all the way through anyway, so it wasn't really in any doubt. Chill had a good race to come out through in third place, with Blah in second. In terms of the championship for that does put Nos into the lead of the GT2 championship, but again, as I always keep saying, it's still a long way to go. Now in GT3, I was pretty much going into this with no idea of what it was going to be like regardless. I hadn't practiced in the Penumbra in the dry or the wet, so it probably helped me that in that situation, because I just took it easy in the first couple of laps and gradually learned what I needed to do and how to handle the car in those situations. But yeah, it was an interesting first few laps. You know, had a few battles and getting used to the car and getting used to the car in the rain. It was fun. Ultimately, I did manage to come home as a pretty significant winner. I think I lapped the sort of bottom 3 in the same class, and I was sort of a minute ahead or something like that. It was a little bit ridiculous, so again, as I've mentioned in the previous recap videos, I will be applying a little bit of balance of performance to myself for future rounds, so that we keep it reasonably close together. In terms of the championship, I am currently in the lead of that, obviously because I've got the 2 wins. Thronebreaker is in second, who finished second in the GT3 race as well, but there's still a few people to get some better points. I think there's certainly more chance for people to get some better points throughout the course of the championship, and certainly with my balance of performance being applied and me basically slowing myself down, I'm not going to be winning all of the races. So for the team's championship for PC, it's actually my team, the Ron Racing team, that is in the lead. 38 points we got from round 2, which was a really, really nice points haul. We are only 2 points in the lead of Children of the Mountain, who are in second. But again, as I keep saying, it's a long championship, and that's all I can really say. People keep asking me to show the championship standings, and that's what I'm doing here. But there's not a lot to really say about them at this early stage. It's only when we get to basically round 7, 8, 9, and 10 that things will start to get interesting, and I'll be able to actually talk about something to do with the championships. So, time for the PC round. this was interesting because I think this season we do have quite a few people who are new to the multi-class endurance racing championship. We've got quite a few people who were participating in round 2, in season 2, sorry. But we do have a few people who are more used to maybe sprint racing formats and all that kind of stuff, where you don't have to deal with traffic. And I think that showed in certain circumstances that people weren't used to the idea of doing that. In GT1, Macy had an absolutely incredible race to come home as a significant winner. He got in no incidents, he was quick. He didn't have the best lap or anything like that, but he played the perfect race and just didn't get involved in accidents or incidents where everybody else in GT1 did. He just kept his head, got through everybody and came home a significant winner, so very well done to him. Picano came home in second. Shaggy and Smithy were third and fourth as well. It was very close between all of those three, I think, and certainly Doodle, who came home just behind those. It was very close all the way through, and again, it was more mistakes that caused these things, caused the differences in finishing position more so than pace, I guess, or being able to overtake. But yeah, it seemed like there were certainly some interesting battles in GT1 all the way through the race. In terms of the championship, Shaggy is still at the top of it, but it's very close between him and Picano, and Macy is in third place with that 15 points. But again, there's going to be so many changes of position in this GT1 championship as people start to find their feet and get more significant hauls of points as we go through the season. Now for GT2, I had an absolutely horrible race. I actually had a really good first half of the race and I felt really, really good about it. But the second half of the race was absolutely terrible, as you probably saw on the highlights video. I'm really surprised that I managed to bring it home in third, to be honest. But yeah, another case of missed opportunities, really. And it's just a shame, and I was quite down on myself. But there's no need to be. I'm going to just start enjoying it for the racing and not put so much pressure on myself to do well. Abe Gunners had a great victory in GT2. He had the most consistent race. Tom Tad was out in the lead for quite a while, but then he had an incident and then ended up dropping back into second place, and even I was catching him quite a lot by the end of the race. But yeah, Abe Gunners, apart from a few very, very minor mistakes, he had the most flawless race, I guess you could say, and the one that got involved in the least amount of incidents, and that's what ultimately got him the win. He participated in all of Season 2 in the GT1 field, and he got lots of seconds and thirds and podium positions, but he never actually managed to get a win, so it's nice that he was able to finally get a win in this championship as well after being in it for so long. So very well done to him, he had a great race. In terms of the championship, Abe Gunners is actually leading the championship from that victory. You've got Tom Tad in second place, just 1 point behind with the 2 seconds that he's had in the 2 races so far. And then there's Mike BWFC, who won our first race but didn't do so well in the second, and then myself. So again, long way to go. Now for GT3, 40 came home the winner in that after, I think, the lead change in GT3, again, very similar to the first round. There was a lot of lead changes, there was a lot of battles going on all the way through, and I think GT3 has been very, very good for that this season. That the not getting involved in incidents, but being able to have battles and take advantage of people slowing down through traffic and stuff like that. It's been really interesting to see that, and I think we had sort of 4 different people in the lead at certain points. It was very interesting, a very interesting race, but ultimately 40 was able to come through and get that victory. 40 did very well in the GT3 Championship in Season 2 as well, so it will be interesting to see how he does. But yeah, that sort of adds on to the second place that he got in round 1 and puts him in the lead of the championship at the moment, just ahead of VXWK95, who has pretty much shadowed him in terms of the results that he's got with third and second. He obviously got the second in round 2. So yeah, very interesting. In terms of the PS4 Teams Championship, in the lead is still the Richards Majestic team with a total of 60 points. They're only 4 points ahead of West Coast Classics though, and then Devon Weston are level on points with Ron in third and fourth. Very, very close, but a very long way to go, as I keep saying. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the recap for the second round of the third season of the Multiclass Endurance Championship. It was an action-packed round on all consoles, I think, and I think that was shown in the highlights videos. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing a few different perspectives of it, getting an update on how people did and how the championships are going. Again, I'll do this after every single round so you guys can stay updated on the championship as a whole rather than just seeing my perspective on it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Let me know all your thoughts down below about how the championship's going and how you think people are doing and all that kind of stuff. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed as well. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you next time.